Alright, good day. This is Dr. Tom. We're going to hit question 29 today, and I'm going to put 29 and 30 together. And I actually have to read this one. So, this question is what is living with an unknown soldier? What is living with an unknown soldier? I take a lot of things for granted. And I forget that most people have no idea what this is about. An unknown soldier is called a sleeper cell. And for instance, I'm going to go back 20 years ago. I worked with a girl, a beautiful woman. She just retired. I can't tell you the vessel she was on. It's all top secret. It literally is top secret kind of stuff. But she had retired and from the military, the Navy, but she began having problems. For instance, people she didn't know started showing up where she lived out on a farm, and the one guy even assaulted her, and she didn't have any memory after that, and so she got referred to me. Well, unfortunately, when I opened her up, they were using her for sex. This woman had been an assistant to a high-ranking individual, and basically they have assistants and often use them as betas, which a beta is a sexually programmed person. Now, people that are programmed don't know they're programmed. They are split-brained. You got personalities here, personalities here. Okay? They never see each other. They don't know each other. But when she had moved, she began resisting. And she was a very small woman. I don't even know how she got in the military. She was 5'2", stunningly beautiful with light skin, freckles, red hair. She was your typical Irish woman. And but she was stunningly beautiful and in incredible shape. She'd never dated or been married. Well, they had been using her for many things, and they passed her off to a new handler, because she basically retired off the ship or the vessel. And so she learned that she had an unknown soldier in her. And she had programmed in her just 2 layers of programming, very small. But if ever notified and activated, this sleeper soldier would go into full combat mode and already knew what kind of uniform it had waiting on it, which I found to be troubling because that was 20 years ago, and I find that uniform is now active. The group she was going to be used for wasn't even around yet, but yet it's here now. If that ain't unnerving, right? So 20 years in advance, she's already programmed, and now it's here. So I took the programming out of her, but she would have been able to rise up, and she was programmed to go house to house and euthanize American citizens. Yeah, because the other part in her believed it was Czechoslovakian male. And you say, well, that's ridiculous. Well, I'll tell you what, a 5'2" woman in full strap gear. Stop it, Buster. I gotta get my boy, he's blind. Come here, Pudgy. Daddy's right here. Come here. Yeah, he can't see, so I have to carry him everywhere. Here, buddy. So, the male part in her, believing it's a man trained in weapons and in full-scale war, and believing that it's a national of another nation, would have had no problem going up and rounding up Americans or killing them. Well, what happened? The reason why her programming started going bad is she was used for sex on the ship with high-ranking officers because she was, really beautiful. Well, this guy that she got transferred to had horses, and he wanted to make her do things with horse, and her mind wouldn't do it. She didn't have parts programmed for horses. She did have them for dogs, not horses. And she resisted. He came back after I started deprogramming her and assaulted her. And we prayed, and he had an accident. And he quit hurting her. So what does it mean? The unknown soldier is when you have a sleeper cell, and that's a personality that's programmed in a person, and it is there, and they do not even know it is there. And when it wakes up or it comes out, it will go and do the job of whatever it's trained to do. And then it will go back to sleep. You can have more than one. You can have them like a capsule, to where that one opens up and this one drops out, wakes up, does its job, and then dies and dissolves into the bottom, into a coffin under the water. Some of you are familiar with what I'm mentioning now about the water and the coffins in the bottle. If you have a graveyard with coffins, that means this person's had many sleeper cells that they've used. And that means they were active. Okay? So an unknown soldier, you have to make them aware. You have to find the program, because they can recreate new ones. I knew a guy who had like a snake back of just a vertebrae of snakes with a head. And every vertebrae held a personality for him. Hey, buddy. And after he used one, it would drop into a graveyard and be buried. That way he never had any consciousness that could ride into his consciousness and make him aware of what he was doing. So I think that's a good explanation. The next question is similar, and it's separated being of man with a question. Yes. Because of the way a child is raised in a monarch household or a satanic ritually abusive environment, the child, the neurological imprinting which will happen, and this is why I wrote the book on imprinting the limbic system. I wish I would have taken time and developed it and put 300 more pages in it. But it's good for introduction or springboarding into the next ones. Now here's why. A separated being of man is where they separate the body, the soul, and the spirit. The body is the flesh. Anytime you disassociate, you can either disassociate from the mind, the body, or the soul. The mind, of course, being the spirit. The soul is the part of you that makes decision. It's the sukhoi. So it's the volitional aspect of you that will make all the decisions that you need. But if you separate the decision making and you give it over to the spirit or the mind, that's where the Nephilim is attached. It will always be in obedience to the things of Satan or Lucifer, not the things of God. Now, if you torture a child, even if you give them accolades and make them, and it imprints it as love, that's why they have a twisted thing of love. Many people are raised to where they feel pain, and that's the only way that they can enjoy themselves. So what they do is through torture, especially to the infant within the first 3 months, is by torturing them, it separates, or in other words, it doesn't separate, it doesn't allow the nerve receptors to grow and develop. So that's why I created that drawing, and it shows the separation. I'm going to elaborate that in the next book, but I really can't cover that in a 15 or 20 minute video. But what they do is they separate the mind, the body, and the soul. It's called hermetic magic rituals done through trauma-based, I call it programming, but they call it life. To them it's not trauma because they all do it and they're raised in it, and then they raise their children. So we're gonna go ahead and do question 30 here also. What does a reset look like, and how can you be sure to avoid resets? If a person is being deprogrammed and they ever are not protected, what will happen is they will be reset. Many times out of fear, the personality of their father will come to the surface, take over their body, and reset them himself. But typically it happens within the couple of a male or a female, or a father and his child. Reset happens is where they take and put them all the way back to stage one when they were 5 years old and less by reintroducing them to the original trauma. The original trauma is the worst trauma. It only has to be done once. Well, if they go to reset a person, stop that. You're hurting yourself. You can't do that. You can't. I know it itches. He's 15. He kept me alive, and actually he's probably 16 now. I always call him 15. But I love this dog. And come here, buddy. And so anyway, a reset happens when they reinstall or redo the original trauma, and it takes the memories back and opens up the original memories which have been sealed. Yes. I know, his back hurts so bad. I know, baby. And so when a person is reset, they go back to 100% factory reset, which means every alternate personality that obeyed and or worked, here you go, buddy, for the person that owns them or their handler, it is instantly reset. It's like a factory reset where, if you get, back in the days, there'd be hardware problems, or people would get in there and mess with their own systems and mess them up in computers. And even when phones first started coming out, well, they had a way where you could go control alternate delete 3 times, get to the taskmaster, shut it down, then go into the CMOS, and you could reset your system back to the factory settings, and it would delete everything else and make it like a new computer hard drive. Okay? Well, but still the memories are still in the base template of the hard drive, so it doesn't completely reset it. Now, when this happens with an individual, they will go back to the way they were and they won't think anything's wrong. And then they'll start having the problems again, and they'll be worse this time. The thing is if a person resets 3 times, it is nearly impossible to ever be able to bring them back. And that's why it's important to avoid. If you don't know what you're doing, don't learn on somebody. Their life is not worth your education. You study under somebody that knows what they're doing. Okay? So, I'm going to do one more. How do you take them down and introduce them to their true self? I've answered that many times. The true self is a synthetic, and first I integrate the dark side into the light side. Janice, black, white, mannequin here, mannequin here. Remember, they're twins, so you got 2 on each side, but you can't get to 1 here and have 2 here, because you see the balance, 2 synthetics, 1 means synthetic. So you got to confront that synthetic before you integrate these 2 sides. So you got 2, 2, and 2. Okay? And the 2 are then mirrored like this, so it would unfold like this. Remember how you'd cut those in kindergarten or first grade? You'd make snowflakes at school and you'd cut them, and when you opened them up, doubled. And it's used by mirrors to then turn each one into a series of 12, but we'll get into that later. And that's how the infinite kaleidoscope is made, by the spinning of the 3 wheels. And heck, we might get through all the questions. Now, I will talk about wedging next, because that's pretty serious. All right, thanks for the questions. These are very good questions. I appreciate it. Please learn how to help people. There are so many people that need your help. Friends, if you can fix a monarch, you can fix anybody. If you can understand this, you would be able to learn and go in and basically work with anyone, or identify and how to work with them. All right, Lord bless you in Christ's love.